Good evening, brew tubers. So it's another evening brewing. Actually, third brew day on the new Brewtools B80pro. I am brewing a New England IPA tonight. Haven't brewed one for a little while. I think the last one I brewed was the double New England IPA, which I entered into the UK National Homebrew Competition. This one's going to be aimed a bit more session strength, so around the 5.2% mark. Just received some hops from Timmy Jenkins, so big shout out to Timmy, king of the NEIPA. I am going to be brewing a Sabro Galaxy Citra NEIPA. I have already mashed in. I've got about 5 minutes left of the mash. It's just been recirculating. I'll give you a quick view. Mashing thick and hot. So the wart's probably as clear as it's going to get with a New England IPA. There's lots of oats, wheat malt. So it's a pretty thick mash, something in the region of 2.8 litres per kilo. So far, everything's been flowing reasonably well. That said, I haven't had a crazy amount of flow going up the centre pipe. I've kept it pretty calm, mostly just whirlpooling around to keep temps consistent. As soon as I am mashed out, I'll be pulling the pipe and hand sparging, so I'm not going to attempt to sparge using the mash hat, because I'm only sparging probably about 8 litres, something like that, so it's just not really worth it. So I just hand sparge, use a jug to do that. In other news, I've just come off the Instagram live Q&A with Unity Brewing Company, who are based in Southampton. That was with the owner, Jimmy Hathley, really lovely guy. I think he was with his wife, just reviewing some of their beers, just chatting beer in general and brewing. So that was really cool. I am currently drinking a, oh look, I have a Unity glass as well. I'm drinking my Hokum Stomp clone. Had this on tap for a while now, and it's really getting there. There's some lovely roasty flavours in there. I think the yeast I used was a Kveik. It was Ebergarden Kveik, which was going to add, and it did add, quite a lot of fruitiness. I underpitched, as you always should with that particular yeast. Fermented it hot, stressed it out, it chucks loads of lovely esters. I also changed the Bramling cross hops for Chinook, so it came out very fruity, which was kind of what I was looking for, almost a tropical stout, if you will. And that's calmed down now, so it's kind of probably a bit more balanced. So if you need to or want to brew a really nice porter recipe, I would highly recommend looking up the Hokum Stomp recipe, which you can find on Brewfather, or you can order kits from the Malt Miller. It's a banging recipe. So I've sorted out my winch system, which I think is really essential. If you've been watching any of my videos up until now, you probably saw the absolute cock up that I made of trying to pull this by hand. You really have to pull this quite slowly. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. So, pulling the grain basket went pretty badly. The brickwork probably isn't as great as I thought it was. The winch arm detached from the wall, splashing my grain basket back into the wort. It looks like I'm going to need to upgrade the fastenings for the winch arm. I ended up getting up onto the bench and pulling it manually, and actually wasn't too heavy. Just sparging at the moment, you can hear it trickling away in the background, and hoping to hit my pre-boil volume and gravity. So I'll update you on that in a minute. So quick update, I have now completed the sparge, everything has drained. I've managed to hit my pre-boil pre-boil volume, and now just coming up to a boil. So a bit of hot break there. 32 litres was what was called for, 31.8 or something. Okay, so I've just checked my pre-boil gravity, and it's come up pretty good. Try and get you guys to see that has worked. Hitting 1055 by the looks of it, maybe even a little higher. I was aiming for 1050 pre-boil. I think my grain crush this time round has been much better. Pre-boil is 1055, so that means to say my mash efficiency was 90%. Brewhouse efficiency 77%. Right, so I've added some yeast nutrient at 15 minutes. I toyed with the idea of using some Whirlflock, Protoflock, but I don't think I'm going to bother. 3 minutes away from adding the first addition, which is a 5-minute addition of 20 grams of Citra, and then I will flame out, cool using the plate chiller, and then I'm going to be adding this beast, which is I think that is 180 grams of hops. Look at that, that's an absolute beast. So that is going to absolutely chuck it, especially being Citra, Galaxy and Sabro. So those are some beastie high alpha hops going in there. That's going to be pretty exciting. We've got about a minute left of the boil. I'll be cooling down. I'm just circulating and sanitizing the plate chiller. I forgot to add the maltodextrin, classic. It was just sat on the side, so I added it. There's only a little time left on the whirlpool. I think the alarm's about to go off, so added that. It was still at 70 degrees or something, which will be enough to pasteurize it and hopefully dissolve as well. I've just taken a original gravity reading, and it has come in at 1063, 1064, which is pretty good. Yeah, that was the numbers I was certainly hoping for, and really pleased that I'm beginning to nail the Brewtools system. So great stuff. Have the return temperature now at 19 degrees, still 60 degrees in the kettle. Transferring that really nicely. It's transferring at quite a speed, which is good. Colour is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful yellow colour. You have to keep an eye on the adjustable dip tube, make sure that that's doing what it needs to. Oh, there it is in the fermenter. Got a pretty decent volume by the looks of it. Definitely more than 23 litres in there. Normally 23 litres is about there, so good 25, maybe even 26 litres in there. Did something wrong with this valve here. I think I might have been drawing wort from here, from the dip tube, as well as from the chiller. and I ended up transferring. It was telling me it was like 19 degrees, and I ended up transferring into the fermenter, and I felt the fermenter and it was like way warmer than that, and it turned out it was like about 45 degrees. Bear in mind this thing is plastic and only can cope with about 50 degrees, so that was a close call. I ended up literally having to dump it back into the Brewtools and whirlpooling again just to sort the cone out, and then had another go and managed to work out. So in the end I've got beer in the fermenter, that's the main thing, and all good. Here she is, and she is a beaut. The head is persistent, sticking around. Colour is a beautiful kind of yellowish orange colour. That was pretty much what I was aiming for, which is nice. Really pleased with that. But this beer, I kegged the beer, and I wasn't very pleased with the aroma and flavour. Now with this particular beer, I've brewed quite a few NEIPAs before, and always followed quite a heavy dry hopping, late whirlpool and dry hopping schedule. So we're talking 150 grams in the whirlpool, 300 grams in the dry hop. So pretty heavy hitting, and that I think is really where you need to get to, in my opinion, to get a really amazing flavour and aroma on a New England IPA. I decided to experiment with this beer in that there's a piece of research out there around kind of saturation points with dry hopping, that apparently it's a diminishing returns point from about 8 grams per litre. However, that research is quite old. That was done primarily with Cascade hops, so I actually don't think that research is particularly valid. In my opinion, not from a scientific point of view, just from a pure sensory and experience point of view, that actually you need to throw a lot more hops at a beer if you really want that, what we've come to be used to in terms of what is now the New England IPA craze, I guess, right? So it's going to be aroma that you can smell from there, massive, big, tropical, fruity, hitting stuff. I find personally you have to throw a lot of hops at it. What I found also was the fact that I'm brewing in the Firmzilla in a conical, and what I found was I dry hopped at the very end of fermentation, and I put in the dry hops, I believe, in the bottom collection container, and they more or less just turned to sludge and stayed at the bottom. And of course that's going to reduce the contact with the hops. If you have a flat bottom FE, they tend to either kind of stay at the top, stay in the middle, sink at the bottom, whatever. You've got a reasonably good kind of contact space with the hops, and that's what matters. I wasn't happy with the aroma, so I actually reused the dry hops for the next beer. I actually reused them and literally just threw them in as a dry hop into the next beer. So I wasn't happy with the beer in terms of flavour and aroma. So I kegged the beer. I tasted the beer. I was pretty underwhelmed. So I decided to keg hop the beer. I've done this 2 or 3 times before with this particular style of beer, and it had generally worked well. So I decided to add, I think it was 40 grams of each of the dry hops, so Citra, Galaxy and Sabro. So I added those into one of the stainless steel dry hop tubes, and the beer was undrinkable, just so murky. It looked like almost like orange milk. The Sabro was chucking coconut, like it tasted like coconut shower gel. I'm pleased to say that the beer has now properly calmed down. It's looking more normal, which is great. I'm not sure whether it was just like a yeast and hop interaction, whether it kind of somewhat kicked off fermentation again in some way, because by all accounts there is some stuff in hops that can kind of do that. 7 minutes in, would you like me to taste the beer? It's probably a good idea. I can talk. So, I mean, the Sabro is definitely adding a lot of coconut. And now I've just got a beautiful tropical coconutty kind of passion fruit. It's probably the Galaxy. Just really, really nice. So, cheers guys. The bitterness that was there from the keg hop, some of it's still there. There is some bitterness, but it's very round. It's got a great body on it despite the ABV. It's not massive, it's quite sessionable. It really has got an amazing body on the beer, considering I didn't add any maltodextrin or any of those kind of cheeky ways of adding lots of body to the beer, lactose, that kind of thing. The body is very, very nice. It's super thick. Probably, although the body is good, it probably could be a little bit sweeter, but that's possibly that bitterness I was talking about, that little bit of perceived bitterness there that may just be detracting from the sweetness slightly, are probably balancing the beer out a bit more. So from a drinkability point of view, it's probably more drinkable. You want to just go back for another sip, you want another beer. Sometimes New England IPAs can be, if they are sweet, you only really want kind of one, maybe two of them. This is my third one tonight. Just got off another Zoom quiz. I'm going to go finish this beer. It was lovely chatting to you all. Like, subscribe, make a comment, let's chat about beer. And the main thing is keep making good beer and have a great time. Cheers guys.